2025 is going to be our healthiest year yet. Whether you want to look better or feel better, it all starts with what you eat.
After sleep, food is just everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, people will say, how do you stay healthy? You must have good genes. It's the food.
Today, we have a dietitian show us how to swap out everyday foods with healthier choices.
We have car models.
Yeah.
Ezekiel's like the Cadillac, you know, the high-end bread, sprouted. And why that's important is when we eat a sprouted bread or a cracker or grain, the nutrients inside of that grain are released and more absorbable by the body.
And we show you foods that even the kids will love. That's today on Mom Squad. Hi everyone, welcome to Mom Squad. I'm Maureen Kyle. Whether we want to admit it or not, I think most people want to make a fresh start at the new year. And if you feel like you indulged a little too much over the holidays, I'm going to guess that eating healthier is somewhere on that list. No matter what your goal, improving health or losing weight, it all comes down to what you eat. Today, we talked to registered dietitian Melanie Jacek. She is on staff at a family-owned grocery store chain, Heinen's, where it's her job to come up with recipes and food items that are good for your body. Take a look at some of the swaps that she says are easy to make. This time of year, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, I feel like we all think about, gosh, I want to be healthier in the new year, and this is going to be the fresh start I need.
Yes.
Do you hear that a lot as a dietitian?
I hear it all the time, but I have to tell you, Maureen, we make a big mistake in this. We set the intention, we set the goals, we clean out our kitchens of all the temptations, of all of our favorites, and then we fill our kitchens with all this good stuff, all things produce, which is great, but then we get a craving for one of our old favorites, right?
Yes.
And when that happens, we're like, oh no, we go to it because we haven't gotten rid of that habit yet.
Yeah.
So what I'm learning is the older I get, it's not just enough to take out, we have to replace.
Got it.
With things that are healthier for us, better for us, healthier alternatives that actually taste good. Otherwise, we're going to return to the old stuff.
Oh,
People
gosh,
do it all
I
the
know.
time, and
Yes.
then they make that mistake, and then they're like, oh, I just don't have the willpower.
Right.
And it doesn't really have anything to do with willpower. It's just we are human beings, right? We have preferences.
But food, I think we were all learning, and I feel like this has been the information that's been out there for the last, especially the last decade, I feel like has been that food is where our health begins.
Absolutely.
And so replacing some of the items that might not be as healthy is really where we're going to have that good baseline of
Yes.
health. And you're always so good
Yes.
about explaining that too.
Well, you can't supplement your way out of a poor diet, right? You can't exercise your way out of a poor diet. The food has to come first before sleep. Sleep, number one, right? Which I know that's a touchy topic for moms, right? I mean, nobody gets enough of it. And, but after sleep, food is just everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, people will say, how do you stay healthy? You must have good genes. It's the food. My answer is always, it's the food. So, and it's an easy place to start, but then sometimes not so easy because we have to eat, right?
And change is always hard, like to get used to some of the new products, but I want you to start, we're gonna start with produce because I feel like that's where people all know that they have to get their fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
So what did you bring today as ones that we should be incorporating into our diet?
Well, you know what I decided to do? I mean, we all know produce is great. No matter what it is, eat it, right? And I thought, you know, I'd bring in some produce items that are a little bit more unique and colorful so that it's more appealing to kids and adults alike. So what I'm featuring here are purple sweet potatoes. So we've got sweet potatoes, but these are amazing purple sweet potatoes, loads of antioxidants. Blue potatoes, so when you cut them, your hands actually get nice and purple.
Yeah.
More antioxidants, anthocyanins in those potatoes. They taste just as yummy as regular potatoes, but you're getting a whole other layer of vitamins and minerals with those. And then beets. I mean, beets are, oddly enough, kids like them because of the color, right? Depending on how they're seasoned and what they're in, sometimes roasting them is a good idea. But we have these beets from Melissa's that are already steamed, you know, and they are ready to go. They are great for blood pressure and great for relaxing the blood vessels and improving blood flow.
Oh, interesting.
So amazing. I do beets every day in a smoothie, whether it's a beet or raw beet sometimes or powders. But yeah, and they go great on a salad. salad, or like I said, roasted are amazing.
Yeah.
Brings out the sweetness in a beet. So yeah, that's a great
For kids then, just because I feel like sometimes they look at something and they go, ooh, ugh, what is this? I don't want to try it. How do you mix that into a meal, do you recommend?
So you could blend it, because you know, if you imagine blending like a beet into like a white potato, it's pink and pretty, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so
true.
you could do that, and you could offer them along other cooked vegetables that they may be familiar with. So like if they like broccoli, lots of kids like broccoli, you might want to sneak a roasted, I would recommend probably roasting them more, and cutting them into smaller pieces, because they're sweeter in that case. But blending them is such a good idea, because the color doesn't turn like brown. You know, it's beautiful if you get it into a potato.
Right.
Then we have watermelon radish. These are a little spicier, but a little bit sweet. They don't taste like watermelon, but they're beautiful in a raw veggie tray, or chopped in a salad. What I love to do, this is adult size, and maybe not even, and this is kid size. Yeah. But I like to every day chop up some veggies and put them in mason jars, and then snack on them throughout the day. And this is where you can get your watermelon radish in there, and all types of things with some dip.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Yeah, it's just a great crunch. It's a little bit sweeter than a regular radish, and it's so pretty. I mean, it looks like a watermelon.
I love these because I always tend to just grab the same few.
We're all there.
Produce items, and I probably pass by these and don't even notice.
You don't, because they look they're a root, right? So they don't look very impressive until you slice into them. And of course, pomegranates, kids always love. I mean, I remember as a kid, my mom slicing the Chinese apple and then just kind of sucking on the juice and spitting it out. We also have our sweet snap peppers. These are amazing. It's a newer pepper that it's really sweet, very crisp, not really like rubbery. Sometimes, you've got the peppers that could be really rubbery, and these are just delicious, just for snacking or with some dip. I mean,
do we have dips? Why do you keep saying dips?
You know what, we don't.
Okay, but
that's one thing I didn't bring.
No, it's fine. I feel like I get guilty if it's a ranch or something. Like, I don't know, it's like, I'm like, should we do ranch? Can we, is that okay?
There's
is it hummus? Is it, what is it?
Hummus is great. I mean, you want to look out for the oils if you can. Make sure that the oils are more like extra virgin olive oil versus canola oil. That's a whole other, we could do a whole segment on oils. But hummus is great. Ranch is okay. There's a lot of products out there that don't have the inflammatory oils in there, like the canola. That's what you got to watch.
So that's what we're watching for?
Canola, soybean oil, don't want that. You want more avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil. Those are less oxidized.
Got it.
So they're healthier. But no, I'm totally like, if you're going to eat them, I'd rather you just do the dip, because if not, you're not going to eat them.
Right. That's how I feel about the kids. I know that they'll eat it. If they can dip it in a ranch, it's probably going to get eaten. There. So okay,
even if it, honestly, even if it's not the best, it's still, they're getting so much power from these veggies, whatever assortment they like. That I'm totally fine with.
I want to get to the nut butters too, because I eat these. My kids are always like, oh, why can't we get the Jif, Mom? And I. But
it's an acquired taste,
right?
And the reason why they like the Jif is because they add sugars
and oil, right?
And oil, and I always tell people, Jif and all the others aren't true peanut butters. They're spreads. True peanut butter or nut butter is the nut itself, and maybe a little bit of salt. That's why they're not liking it, because let's be honest. I mean, as a kid, I don't know about you, but I had a nice, peanut butter and jelly sandwich on Wonder Bread.
Yes.
With peanut butter, the Jif peanut butter and Concord grape jam, and it was soft and cushy and sweet. Yep. These aren't sweet.
No.
But your taste buds have to adapt to it. For sure. But they're amazing. Fresh ground.
I've never seen walnut butter.
Oh yeah, the walnut butters. We have walnut butter, we have almond butter, we have cashew butter, peanut butter. All go great with apples, my favorite way, or bananas. Is a nice little snack, for kids and adults alike. These are absolutely fresh ground and in one of our facilities and distributed to the stores. So, kids love them for the most part. Adults, even some adults, you got to get them to transition the taste buds over to these.
Right. I know, I love it. Okay, so then we we have these little interesting things.
These are, okay, they're kind of like strange looking for a child, but they are dates rolled in coconut. And they are just Mother Nature's candy, I'll tell you. Like if you're looking to get off sugar and you really want something sweet, one ingredient is dates, you know, and coconut rolled in the coconut. I mean, it's sweet, it's chewy, it's caramely, so it's a really nice stand-in for somebody who's always going for sweets.
Yeah.
I do every night, I'll do 1 or 2 of these after dinner. I used to do like chocolate and stuff like that, and sometimes I still do, but those are just my go-to, no added sugar.
That's good to know, because that's my downfall.
Try those.
I'm like,
I'm
where's the chocolate?
You, they're so great.
I'm gonna do those.
So great.
All right, and then what do we have? What is in this?
Yeah, so this is so a lot.
Oh my gosh, how pretty is this?
Soups are just really loaded with all kinds of fillers and preservatives and too much salt. And this is a company, the 18 Chestnuts. They have managed to make a soup that is literally all ingredients that you would find in your kitchen. And they're like a homemade soup jarred up. So it's a great like little lunch. There's all different flavors. There's a tomato, just really good stuff, and it's very wholesome.
So when we're looking at soups, because it is soup season,
yes,
I feel like with how cold it is, and believe me, I love to make my own soups, but sometimes it's too time consuming.
Yeah.
So we should be looking at the ingredients versus like the jar, or jarred versus can. I feel like it's always easy to rely on the can.
Yeah, it is. And you know, I think my main lesson on soups is that when you look at the ingredients, just be able to picture those ingredients in your own kitchen. If you see a bunch of preservatives and things like that, you know, just you're better off spending a little bit more on a soup that doesn't have that. Sodium, they're going to have it in there, and if not, no one's going to eat it. And let's be honest with salt, though. We eat too much of it, but it is an essential mineral that we need to survive. None of us are sodium deficient, likely.
Yeah.
So if you have a little bit in the soup that's delicious, then you just lighten up throughout the day. That's what I do. If I'm going to do soup, I'm not going to be eating salty things all day.
After a quick break, if cheese is your downfall, Melanie has a healthy alternative, and she shows us one of the healthiest lunches you can create. Welcome back. Are you in a rut with just pouring a bowl of cereal for the kids or throwing one of those frozen peanut butter and jellies into their lunch? Our guest today is dietitian Melanie Jacek, who is showing us healthier food swaps that can have a big impact on our health. And she has great suggestions for lunch. All right, we have also a little to-go lunch here.
Yes, so Blue Zones, Blue Zones Kitchen is a new company out there that make a nice little line of frozen meals. And again, ingredients you would find in your own kitchen if you make your own little, Buddha bowl. They call them the Buddha bowls, right? Blue Zones are interesting because they are the areas of the world where people live beyond age 100 and do so healthfully. And so they've taken those rules, the rules of the Blue Zone residents, and they've made it into frozen meals, which are really hearty and healthy and filling because they're full of fiber and all things good for us.
Yeah.
So
I always forget about bowls.
Yeah.
And it seems like you have a couple ingredients here where we're going to go next, where we can be making our own bowls. And it's something I don't think of when I'm making.
So versatile.
So explain to me what we have here and how we can make our own at home.
In a bowl, you could do, I always recommend putting a grain in there and a vegetable, but here are really just easy vegetables, like a rice.
Like a cauliflower base.
Cauliflower base.
Okay.
Or you could do regular rice. You could do quinoa that's seasoned or not. I mean, this is one of our dinner quinoas that has zucchini, butternut squash, and tomatoes in there. And then you want to have a protein, of course, in there, and a drizzle of some sort of, sauce, whether it's tahini, whether it's, a lower sugar barbecue sauce. This is the Noble Made is a lower sugar barbecue sauce. A little bit of crunch on there. You can throw some nuts and seeds in there.
Yeah.
And you always want to add some sort of green, like leafy green, fresh green on the top, or maybe at the base.
Okay.
Or even cooked greens. So yeah, you always want to get your vegetable, your protein, a grain if you can, a whole grain like that. More vegetables if you can.
So what you're describing too is sort of like an all-encompassing, like in a bowl, maybe like these burrito bowls or one you make yourself, you're getting your carbohydrate, your vegetable, your protein.
Yep.
Any sort of advice on proportion?
Yeah, so I would say mostly, like, if you think about when you build a salad, lots of greens, right? Lots of vegetables. And then, the protein is sort of like it doesn't have to be a lot. We don't need as much protein, kids or adults. We do not need as much protein as we think we do. So it's, a condiment-sized portion, a little bit bigger, just the size of the palm of your hand, right? Whether it's beans that's your protein source, or chicken or beef or whatever that is, just handful size of the palm of your hand, throw it in there, and more vegetables, more vegetables, more vegetables, a drizzle of what the sauce would be.
Yeah.
Tahini is wonderful. Sesame seed paste is what it is,
Yeah.
or any kind of dressing.
Okay.
Any kind of good dressing.
Interesting.
Yeah. And they're so satisfying.
I want to see what else we have before.
Those are great.
Okay, so are we moving to breakfast?
Well,
or what is this?
they're sort of all over the place.
Okay.
So we've got like frozen blueberries, any kind of frozen fruit that you could throw into a smoothie is great. And so to have that on hand, if you don't have it on hand, you're not gonna make the smoothie, or you're not gonna add the fruit. And this is a great way to get fruit in. So berries are wonderful.
Okay.
And also smoothies for breakfast are amazing anyway. You can make them kid friendly. Adults, you can add more unique ingredients, and we could talk about that when we make our way down to the powders. But this is Evergreen is a great waffle company that makes high fiber waffles, lower sugar, and then they add a powder, a fruit and veggie powder in there, and they mix it up.
Wow. And
so there's 3 or 4 flavors that we carry, and it's so great. It's a whole grain, and you could add syrup on it if you want, or add a nut butter on top if you want. Great for kids or adults.
Okay.
You can make a little waffle sandwich with nut butter.
Because I'm always trying to think of what else can I do besides cereal in the morning.
Those are great. Those are actually nutritious. They really are.
And again, moving on with I know I've heard of Ezekiel bread.
Yeah.
I've used it. Why do you recommend that?
I recommend Ezekiel, we're talking, okay, if we have car models,
Yeah.
Ezekiel's like the Cadillac, the high-end bread. Not for everybody, it's an acquired taste, kind of just like the peanut butter.
Yeah.
But it's sprouted. And why that's important is when we eat a sprouted bread or a cracker or grain, the nutrients inside of that grain are released and more absorbable by the body. So it's really a higher nutrient profile. Your body can absorb it better, which is important, because we're not what we eat, we're what we absorb, right? It's dense. I always laugh and say you can't take a nap on a bread of a loaf of Ezekiel, but you can on Wonder Bread, right? Right. So it takes some getting used to, but if you're going to go there, it's a super healthy bread. It's the best that we sell. No preservatives, nothing like that. Yeah.
Before I know we're going to keep going and moving down the table, but I don't want to skip over, because I feel like sodas are some people's downfalls.
Oh yeah, a lot of people.
Yes, and you brought a healthier alternative here.
Yeah, and not only regular soda, but I see people drinking a lot of diet soda, which is not good. Artificial sweeteners like aspartame aren't good. So these are prebiotic sodas. And what's interesting about prebiotics, it's kind of a funny word to describe the food that the healthy bacteria that's in our gut thrive on. And so we want the good bacteria to grow, because the more good bacteria we have, the more healthy we are. Immune system, mood, all things are tied to gut health. And the prebiotic sodas are high fiber. So in one of those cans, it's 9 grams of dietary fiber in a can. Those are the prebiotics. And it's sweet. It's sweetened with a little bit of monk fruit. So it's not, it's very, very low sugar. It's got the fizz. So if you're trying to give up sodas, those are your go-to. And even if not, even if you're just looking for a functional beverage, your kid wants root beer, that tastes just like root beer.
Oh, interesting.
It's amazing.
Okay.
It's amazing. Olipop is probably one of my favorites.
Yeah. That is one thing I hear from people all the time. That's their habit that they have to kick.
Yes.
Okay, so then let me see what we have here.
We have.
Should we go cheeses? Because that seems to be everybody. Like people say, are you a cheese person? Are you a sweets person?
So I used to say I would die if I had to give up cheese. And then I did, because for health reasons, I did. I don't put it off limits, but if I really, really want it, I'll have it. So I ended up getting some cashew-based cheese. Now, back in the day when we had the plant-based cheeses or the vegan cheeses, they were horrible. And they were just like eating the top of an eraser. Have you been there?
Yes, and I don't think I've ever tried a vegan cheese since.
They were
are these
horrible.
vegan cheeses?
So not all of them. So the one that looks like a pyramid,
Yes.
that is a cashew-based cheese. It's called Nuts for Cheese. It's amazing. There's all flavors, and it's very soft. Because if you think about softening and blenderizing a cashew to make it creamy, it's a spreadable cheese that goes great with crackers. And then the others are also cheeses that there are A2 cheeses, grass-fed, organic A2 cheeses, cow's milk cheeses. Those three are like key words. Grass-fed, because when you have a cow that's grazing on grass, you're getting more omega-3s from that milk, because grass is high in omega-3s. So by default, we get that, which omega-3 fats are very anti-inflammatory in the body. So when you're looking for cheese, if you can get grass-fed, that's great. And A2 is the type of protein that heritage breed cows produce. And why that's cool is people who have issues digesting milk, usually it's because of the A1 protein. Traditional cows produce, A1 protein. A2 is, I mean, if you're lactose intolerant, you may be able to handle that.
Yeah.
If you have a milk protein allergy, you won't either way because it's milk protein. But a lot of people will complain about, gas or they just don't feel right. Try an A2 cheese.
When we come back, Melanie explains why all of this healthy eating will pay off, especially when it comes to how we look. We'll be right back. Welcome back. One of my biggest issues is that I'll eat healthy meals, then eat unhealthy snacks. Our dietitian, Melanie Jacek, has some ideas for healthy snacking. All right, some other options that we have here too. Oh, snacks.
Crunchies, yes.
Oh, talk about snacks quickly, because that's where I cannot figure out what is a healthy snack that's not just vegetables.
Right, I was going to say beyond fruits and vegetables, I'm not opposed to doing tortilla chips. The maize tortilla chips by Siete brand is great. It's a little nutritional edge compared to other tortillas because the corn is soaked in lime juice beforehand, and then it's stone ground, so it activates again a little bit more of those nutrients. Now, it's not a health food per se, but it's a little bit better than and they use avocado oil instead of canola oil and all those other more unhealthy oils. So that with either a little bit of guacamole would be great. Either one that you make yourself or you buy is great. Now the Brad's chips, I brought those because I used to be self-proclaimed junkie when it came to chips. I can't control myself around chips. I can't just eat one or two or three. I don't like people that can because I'm so jealous. So those got me off of chips.
Oh, okay.
Because remember what I said, you want to, if you're trying to give something up, you want a replacement. They are pure vegetables, right, with some seasonings that are just baked, but at a very low temperature, so they're considered raw. And when you eat a bag of that, which I do, I have no problem eating a bag of that, you're satisfied at a level that is just, you're nourished. Because it's full of vegetables. And they have a little cheesy flavor. They'd use a nutritional yeast in there to give it a cheesy flavor, so it's great. So something like that, you may want to try it because they're crunchy, but they're more cheesy. So kids might like something like that. But I think, again, finding the replacement, doing nutrition bars are great. And even, you know what, you want a little bit of chocolate as a snack, just make sure it's a better for you chocolate, which are
you have
the
a
Hu
couple
bars.
Examples here.
Hu bars, why those are great, they are what chocolate should be. They don't have any emulsifiers in them. They're chocolate, they're sweetened with coconut sugar, so the glycemic index, how it affects our blood sugar, is a little bit lower. So those are amazing. Having a square of that, even for children, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Getting their palates used to a little darker of a chocolate, can really help. Dipped in a nut butter, that's a way to get them to, I mean, make your own peanut butter cups there.
In general, I mean, all of these are great ideas. Everybody wants to focus on health, but let's face it, we're all vain. It's like, yes, we want to be healthy, but how, in general, does this help us look better and not just feel better?
Well, gosh, whenever you see somebody with nice looking skin, it's the food. It's mostly this, right? So appearance-wise, you really are what you eat and what you absorb. So if you subside on sugar and you subside on things that really age your skin, like sugar and processed foods, you're going to wear it on your face. And water is important and key. So it really does not only make you feel better from an energized perspective, but you can tell people who take care of themselves, right? I mean, it's just you look better, you feel better, you sleep better. You do, but you can't get there overnight. And I have to say that very importantly, because people they get all jazzed up January 1st, right? And then they end up, falling off because they try too hard to do too much at one time. And
January. Like they try to cram it all into January, but it seems like as we're going through the months, just replace little items or try new.
One thing. I mean, if you could replace, and there's a lot here, but find out where your weakness is. And maybe you don't start there. Maybe you don't start with your strongest weakness. Maybe you start with a weakness that once you master that, your family masters that, you start to feel really good about yourself. And you're like, okay, let me add something else.
A big thank you to Melanie Jacek for showing us all of those healthy alternatives. Let's keep our families happy and healthy in 2025. And with that in mind, stay tuned to Mom Squad. We get really great experts to share their advice on everything from behavior to education and what parents need to do to keep their sanity. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Maureen Kyle, and I look forward to sharing more episodes with you this year.